Today, we are going to be providing feedback to our TikTok commentators. Brace yourself for this because I don't know what the comments are going to say. Some of them might not be that great. So here we go. Andy, I'm 44 now, and I think by the time I retire, the age will be 70 before you can retire. But I don't think there will be any money for anyone to be able to retire then, because the government will find a way to waste everybody's money and pension by then. That's Andy. Andy, I'm struggling to disagree with you, mate. I think you're absolutely right. We've already heard in the news that the triple lock guarantee for pensions is unsustainable. The government have told us the triple lock guarantee is unsustainable. So read into that what you will. If it were me now and I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s, I would be getting my side hustle on. Look back through our episodes, ladies and gents. There are tons of side hustles that you can do. Get started in under a week right now. My advice, don't wait for your pension. Get started on something new. Axel says, if you are relying on a state pension only for your income, what have you been doing for the last 40 years? Whew. Bit harsh that, Axel, I must say. I think a lot of people were told by Auntie, the BBC, and by government that we were going to look after you in your old age. So I'm not sure I completely agree with that. However, I do think that there is great opportunity now to do more side hustles and to get other businesses going on the side rather than just relying on your 9-to-5 job and saving for your pension through passive income. So I do agree with that. Tony, wise owl. I don't drink Costa coffee and I don't want to waste money. Tony, it's great that you don't want to drink Costa coffee, mate. Probably wasn't the point of this post talking about pensions, but that's cool. Maybe the wise owl isn't so wise. Brilliant, love that. Have old people considered saving money and not buying avocado toast after a life in the world's best economic age for generations, says Captain Alan Smith. Wow, okay. A little bit to unpack there, Alan. So, have old people considered saving money and not buying avocado toast? Is it old people having the avocado toast is my first question, because usually it's people in their 30s and 40s with names like Tarquin and Sunshine that I personally see doing that. However, yes, the world's best economy or best economic age for generations has certainly been, and I would argue gone. I would certainly go with you on that, Captain Alan Smith. However, I think saving money is absolutely not the way to build wealth. And it's also not the way to build your retirement wealth. Saving money is the poor man's game now, because not only are you getting very little returns in traditional savings accounts with banks as a 4% if you're lucky, sometimes 6% if you're extremely lucky, usually it's the 2 to 4%. But also pensions, government gilts, government bonds, they're at an all-time low. For many people, this is not going to be a great way to save. So speculating in the stock market, which of course has peaks and troughs that you can't predict. You could be on a peak for 30 years and then all of a sudden as you're about to retire, you could lose 70% of your saved wealth. So I'm not too sure about that piece of advice, Captain Alan Smith, about saving money instead of buying avocado on toast. Although if you do buy avocado on toast and you're a person who's a pension age, could you let me know, do you buy avocado on toast? I mean, what is it like? I've never tried it. So let me know in the comments. Bill H. It won't be long before every pensioner in the country will be paying tax on the state pension. We need Nigel in power. He will raise the threshold to 20k before tax. Wow, okay. So, Bill, little bit to unpack here, my friend. I think you're absolutely right. There is a phenomenon called fiscal drag, which is where they raise the income thresholds, or they raise the minimum levels of income, should I say, but they keep the tax code, your personal tax allowance, the same. So as minimum wage rises, you become more and more closer to the tax threshold, and then you'll end up paying tax. This is a way that politicians can pull the wool over your eyes by saying, we're not going to raise taxes, but actually, due to fiscal drag, they actually are raising taxes, and it's a deliberate ploy. So basically, at the moment, tax personal allowance is £12,750, like it's been for the last 3 years on the run. But minimum wage keeps rising. So more and more people are getting out of the £12,750, and they're going to be paying tax largely for the first time. That's absolutely going to be happening, Bill. I agree with you, especially if the Labour governments stay in power. That's one of the ways that they're going to tax people who are pensioners. 100% agree. He says that we need Nigel in power, and he will raise the threshold to 20k before tax. So I'm assuming he means Nigel Farage of the Reform Party. I think, without getting too much into political opinions, I think that the Reform Party have some generally good ideas. Not all ideas are those that I agree with. But when we're talking about pensions, do we want the solid hands of experience, or do we want new cutthroat leadership? And a lot of people seem to think new cutthroat leadership. But bear this in mind, the civil servants who are actually dictating policy are still going to be the exact same civil servants, whether Reform, the Conservatives, or Labour, or any other political party get into power. So please do consider that. The people that you see on the screen are not the people who are actually pulling the strings. Just something to be very mindful of. Unless you disagree, let me know. Peter Brickles says, if you've got a small private pension, it reduces the amount of state pension that you receive. Sorry, Peter, I don't think that's quite true, my friend. I think what will happen is you will be taxed, which will reduce your income, but it won't impact the amount of state pension that you receive if you've made the contributions, because they're fixed. Hope that clears that up. Truth Seeker 25 says, try being a full-time unpaid carer on £105 a week. Yes, I get council tax housing benefit, but I need travel 6 days, lunches, and to pay my bills while I'm trying to keep my home, but never get time to live in it. I now know why so many old people are lonely, because it's impossible for people to become carers. Not quite sure on the trend here, Truth Seeker 25, because this is obviously relating to pensions, but I do agree that it is difficult if you are an unpaid carer to actually find time to save for a pension, and also to get pension credits through statutory instruments like universal credit, for example. So I think I agree on the principle that it is incredibly hard, and unpaid carers, there is an army of unpaid carers out there who do not get the recognition that they deserve. Let me know in the comments below if you're an unpaid carer and what you think we should do to actually help unpaid carers move forward in the future. What would actually help you to save for a pension? What would help you to become more independent and not reliant on governments doing things inexplicably wrong? Let me know below. Sydney says, why do other countries look after their elderly better than the UK? Once you finish work, you may as well die. Oof. That's quite a harsh but maybe fair statement, Sydney. I think there's an element of truth to this, because of course each successive government says we can't afford pensions. They make it very clear. Then they dismantle the healthcare system. We were talking with one of our guests on an earlier episode who was saying that in order to meet the government targets of diagnosing people with cancer and then getting them treatment within 2 weeks, one of the things the pen pushers have decided to do is not diagnose people. So therefore, by not diagnosing them, they don't need to get them the care that they need within those 2 weeks, which of course progresses the disease without any successful treatment. So encouraging people to shift off the mortal coil earlier. And of course, care as its own sector is desperately underfunded, woefully underfunded, and certainly not given an ounce of thought by any government to date. So perhaps, Sydney, you're onto something here, but what would you do about it? What would you actually do to say, other countries look after their elderly better than we do? What would you do that was different? I mean, one of the things that you can do, of course, before you get elderly is take some accountability yourself. Instead of just working a 9 to 5 job, start looking at those side hustles. Start looking at ways that you can earn passive income, because there are more ways available now than there has been in the last quarter century, at least, certainly the last half century as well. What other things can be done? Do you even have to work for other people anymore? Because there's a whole industry out there of self-employed people, of almost Bedouin nomads who are going around doing digital work. And if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, believe me, you have so much to offer, particularly people who consume online content like TikTok and Instagram and so on. You'd be surprised what actually makes the press. So maybe that's something for you to consider rather than just rely on that state pension. But equally, a valid point from Sydney, so thank you. Stop! Before you go any further, if you're enjoying this content, remember to give us a subscribe, a like, a follow, or a share. Every single person that clicks on those buttons, it means the world to us, because it helps us reach more people and get people educated in how to get wealth the lazy way. I can't read the full username because it's just loads of numbers, but user 9189785 something says, "You will never get out what you paid in. It's simple maths. Do not depend on the state." User 918978547, I totally agree. Do not rely on the state. It is at very best a form of safety net. At very worst, social engineering to get you killed quicker, like Sydney implied earlier. So my honest view on this is do not rely on the state for anything. Make your own way in the world. Get your own side hustles. Get your own businesses. Get your own passive income. Use any one of the ideas that we have discussed and shown you how to do here at Lazy Wealth Creation Podcast for free. Go through our back catalogues. Don't just look at the shorts. Go and look at the actual interviews. They're 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Some are only even 8 minutes long. Go and have a look. Find something of interest. But thank you very much for that comment, user 918978546, blah, 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 blah. Jackson Magic says, yes, but with that pension, you have to pay water rates, phone bills, shortfall in rent, food, clothes, etc. And you certainly can't own a car, ! I agree. So once again, Jackson Magic, I agree with you completely. I think it's time right now, whether you're in your 40s or even your 50s, start looking at ways to get additional passive income today. Don't delay. Don't wait till you retire. They're not going to save you. Start now. Another user 5651227 blah blah blah. Why would anyone go to Costa? I go to business meetings in Costa. Loads of people meet in Costa. User 565. Why do you hate Costa? It's not very good, I agree, but at least it's somewhere warm and you can sort of get the quality right of what you want. So, give me a break. Costa's okay. Rita Frost 396. State pension should be at least equal to the minimum wage, as the government states that's what is needed for people to live off, but expects the elderly to live off far less. Make that make sense. Wow, okay, so there's a really interesting comment, Rita Frost 396. I think there's a couple of bits there. I think the first thing is there is an assumption, rightly or wrongly, on the government's part that by the time you've reached 70 years of age, which is what it's going to be when I come to retire for now, it might go up again, that you will have accumulated enough in your life to have bought a home so you wouldn't have any rent or mortgage. So that's a huge bill paid off. You may also have paid off a car and you're just basically surviving on whatever you've already saved from your private pensions. But that's a lot of assumptions in that. And I agree with you that some people haven't had those means for their whole lives. There are many people now in the UK who have never worked one day in their lives who are going to become pensioners very soon, within the next 5 years. So they've been reliant on the state, on the dole, universal credit, sickness benefits their entire lives, and now they're going to be pensioners surviving on far less. So what's going to happen there? I suspect the amount of disability payments, or what we call PIP, personal independence payments, those claims are going to rise significantly. And I think lots of people are going to get very sick very quickly just before retirement so they can make ends meet. But I do agree with you that how is it a 30-year-old needs £12.21 an hour, but a person who's 67 by today's standards can survive off less than £5.80 an hour? What's going on? Really good point there from Rita Frost 396. So thank you for that. And then Eve says, it's more than I earn going to work. So, Eve, £235 is the state pension. And if that's more than you earn going to work, my suggestion might be that you may not be working very many hours, or you may be in an incredibly low paid job. So, because even at minimum wage standard £12.21, you would need to be working 20 hours to get £240. So that's still within the tax threshold. So that suggests you're working probably very low hours. My advice, therefore, would be, what side hustle are you doing? There's 168 hours in a week. You're doing less than 20 hours. So what's going on with those other 148 hours? I don't know, by the way. I don't know Eve at all. But please consider 148 hours is a long time. Sleep, food, travel, yes. But then you've still got roughly 60 hours a week to get your side hustle on, get that extra business off the ground, helping other people out to develop their businesses in the family. So I think I'm not really on the fence with Eve. I fundamentally disagree. There's tons of things you can do differently with your life, whether you have abilities or disabilities that you can help support other people with. You can manage your keyboard, clearly, because you're on TikTok. So therefore, you could be managing someone's social media account with a little bit of training and a little bit of help, which is freely available from TikTok itself. So get a side hustle is my advice there. David Davis 565. Buy a jar of coffee, put the kettle on. Never bought coffee out before in my life. Can't understand people going to Costa. They don't pay tax. I assume he means Costa don't pay tax. Wow, okay, David, let's take a breath, relax, not buy any coffee from outside if we don't want to, buy some coffee inside your house. Okay, we're talking about pensions and he's hooked on Costa. Okay, so he raises a point here, Costa don't pay tax. I think what David's actually talking about is corporation tax. They'll pay the minimum amount of corporation tax possible. However, big companies like Costa Coffee and Starbucks and other such coffee chains, they will pay lots of employers' national insurance contributions for sure. They will pay lots of VAT for sure. They'll pay taxes like VAT for certain. They will also be paying insurance premium taxes. They'll be paying fuel duty to get their products from one place to another. So actually, I think it's a little bit short-sighted that the media say, oh, they don't pay corporation tax, which is probably very true, but they're also paying millions upon millions upon millions of pounds in other taxation that the government forces everyone to pay as well. So, yeah, okay, I would rather have somebody else make the cup of coffee or the cup of hot chocolate for me, David, than create the dishes, because my wife would kill me if I left those dishes in the sink. Billy, simple name, Billy, I love that. Don't rely on the state. Simples. Totally agree, Billy. Don't rely on the state. They're not here to save you. They're certainly not here to help you. The state exists for one function only, to take money from you. Your job is to try and keep as much money legally as you possibly can. And the best way to do that, get yourself a business, get yourself some passive income, get yourself into property, get yourself investing in things that you can physically see, touch, feel, smell, and hear. Precious metals, art, jewelry, stamps, whatever it is that floats your boat. But get into that now. Do not rely on the state. Simples. Totally agree with you, Billy. Fast Eddie. I love that name. There's no picture. Fast Eddie. What's going on, mate? Where's your picture? The government are not, it's big not, the government are not paying you a pension. They are returning a small percentage of the money you paid towards your pension when you retire. Whew, okay, Fast Eddie. Let's take a breath. It's okay. We're in a safe place. We're amongst friends. What I would say here, Fast Eddie, I disagree with the maths on this one, my friend. The government are not paying you a pension. They are returning a small percentage of the money you paid. I disagree with that. When you're paying into your pension, you're paying at today's rates. So today, I might be paying, let's say, £100 in national insurance contributions, which goes in towards my pension. And then when I retire with inflation, of course, £100 is not even going to buy me a chocolate bar by the time I retire, I imagine. So the government are going to have to top this pension up because I've only paid 100 quid in times, 35 years. So, by the time I get my pension, there's not going to be enough money in the pot. It is a Ponzi scheme. It is as simple as that. Your pension scheme is a Ponzi scheme. Somebody else pays in now to pay for the people today. And it's as simple as that. And the sooner we get our heads around that fact, the better off we'll all be. And we'll start waking up and realizing, again, like Billy says, the government are not here to help you. It's simple as that. Jazza G says, your example is spot on. A Costa coffee is an extravagance. I earn good income, but wouldn't waste my money on a Costa coffee. But it has become commonplace, and you have highlighted the issue that is the rise in expectations. Jazza G, I'm talking about quality of life, not expectations. Once upon a time, you couldn't fly to the Mediterranean for 30 quid, or even better, 15 quid on Ryanair. Once upon a time, the best you could hope for was a train ride to the beach, and I had Blackpool or North Wales to choose from. And now, if you try and book a holiday in a caravan park in North Wales, it's going to cost you the best part of 1,000 quid, probably more to book 1 week in the summer holidays. Whereas I can hop on a plane to Portugal for 30 quid. I can stay in a hotel all inclusive, maybe not a great one, for 300 quid and come back again. So for less than the cost of a caravan holiday, I can actually go and get some sunshine in Portugal. So I think quality of life has improved dramatically for a lot of people. And that includes, being able to go out and socialize with friends, not in your own home. So I disagree, to be honest with you, about that. It's not about rising expectations. It's about disposable income from people who were born in the sort of 30s. They've had this disposable income. They've saved all their life. What do I want to spend it on? This is a mechanism for releasing their equity, for getting money back out. So I think, personally, Costa Coffee as a brand, I don't really care too much about the brands. That doesn't interest me. But in terms of offering people quality of life, social gathering, one of the things that impacts older people the most is loneliness. Just think about that for a minute. So if we can do anything to combat loneliness, get people out of the house, I see in my local Costa Coffee, there are carers that come in and they bring in people with special education needs. They bring in people who are non-verbal, some people in wheelchairs, some people are older, some people are younger. And they come in and they have a little bit of a toasty and a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And it's an absolutely wonderful sight to see. Why? Because people of all different cultures, all different backgrounds are there together in a social environment, not necessarily talking to each other, but it just gives people that fabric, that cohesion that we're all part of the same society. So, for me, I'm not saying particularly one brand or another. I'm just saying somewhere where people can gather socially, I think is a great thing. And that includes pubs as well, by the way. I think pubs are very underrated these days. People are very often to dismiss pubs, and I think they've got their real place, not as much as they used to, though, of course. Okay, Wilson Keppel says, you won't have much quality, mate, if you carry on drinking that crap. To be honest with you, Wilson Keppel, I probably agree with you. It is watery crap, and it's got to have more calories in it than a Mars bar. So, yeah, okay, fair point, mate. The diet starts tomorrow and no more Costa for Carl. Thanks, Wilson. I don't get that. I get £150 a week, says Ann Johnson. And you might be on one of the older pension schemes, so that might be why you're on that amount of money. Obviously, I don't know you, I don't know your circumstances. That does seem very low. I think maybe you should go and get some support, Anne, from the local Citizens Advice Bureau, because £150 a week seems incredibly low, and you may be entitled to pension credit. So please go and have a look, Anne, at the Citizens Advice Bureau. Make your appointment now. And then we have Harry Hill. I don't know if it's the real Harry Hill. It's the picture of a celebrations box as his profile. I love that. But you don't have the same costs when you're older. You likely don't have to go out as often. Mortgage is paid off, no kids to raise. You also get added income like free bus passes, winter fuel payments, and there are endless pensioner discounts on days and meals out. So, Harry, you've just said that we don't go out as much as pensioners, but then said there's endless pensioner discounts on days and meals out. So, okay, maybe they're not using them then, Harry, to use your analogy there. Yeah, you're probably right, Harry, to say, a pensioner might not have a mortgage and might not have any kids to raise, but do you know how expensive grandkids are? I do. I've got one. Okay, I know, everybody. Oh, I'm far too young to be a grandfather. You're right. I blame my daughter for that little incident. That one time, I now have a wonderful grandson who I absolutely adore, but it's very expensive. So I'm not sure I agree with Harry on this one. As somebody who is looking to, I'm already financially retired now by choice, but when I come to retire, I need the passive income, I think, just to pay for whatever my grandson's going to need, and hopefully only one grandson. Paul Gibson says, equal right means equal rights. You fought for it. Why should men work longer than women? Maybe we should have reduced men's working age. Ooh, the old equality argument there from Paul. So yeah, he's talking a little bit of sense there, isn't he? Because they say, women should retire. At one point, it was women should retire at 60 and men should retire at 60. I think it was 63 or 64. And of course, all the data now says women live longer. So if women are living longer, but they're able to retire earlier, what's going on there? So, okay, Paul, I think I'm with you on this one, mate. Fair shout. And equality does mean equality. So, you can do just the same job as us. Why are we having to work harder when we actually know that we die quicker, younger? We know from the quality of living studies that are taking place in the UK. So I'm with Paul on this. However, as somebody who's talking about pensions, I would say don't rely on the state pension at all. Like I've kept saying all along, don't rely on them. Have a side income, have passive income already set up. If you don't know how to do side incomes and passive incomes, watch some of our episodes. They're in the back catalogue. The actual episodes, not the 60-second shorts. They're not going to help you. Watch the full-length episodes on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. Kimball says, how is nearly $1,000 a month for free not a good thing? Who needs a calorie-filled coffee for a good life? Oof, okay, a couple of things there, Kimball. So, first of all, £1,000 a month for free is probably not a fair analogy there, or a fair assessment, because a lot of people have paid into that system and therefore they want their money back out. So I don't necessarily agree that £1,000 a month for free. It's not free, they've paid for it. Although in the next 5 years, we're going to see the first batch of people who haven't paid for it because they've been on benefits their entire lives. So, okay, maybe then that will become true, Kimball. And who needs a calorie-filled coffee for a good life? I don't know, Kimball. Who does need a calorie-filled coffee for a good life? Because I drink hot chocolate. So I don't know. I don't like coffee. I can't stand the bloody thing. And you don't really need a good life to have that, I suppose. No, I agree with you, Kimball. So if you pay into it all your working life, surely you deserve to be comfortable for the remaining few years of your life, says Power Shower, with a nice picture of a doggy there as well. That's beautiful, Power Shower. I agree with you. However, the government are not here to save you. You'll notice a theme throughout this whole episode. The government are not here to save you. The government are not going to help you. The government are here for one purpose alone, to take your money from you. That's it. You need to absorb that and you need to understand it. They're here to take money from you. The government does not make money. The government raises taxes and then spends that money. Where do the taxes get raised from? You. Simple as that. Margaret Thatcher spoke about this actually very eloquently. So I'm from the north and I know what Margaret Thatcher said. That's got to be a criminal offence, right? So please don't rely on the government. Get your side hustles on. Get your passive income. Come and learn how. We'll show you exactly how to do it for free. Get your side hustles on immediately. David Francis, I beg your pardon, says it barely pays the bills. David, I agree with you completely. £230 a week is not enough to pay the gas, the lecky, the water, the council tax, and then your food shop on top of that. I totally agree. Start building your passive income, my friend. If you're on TikTok, I guarantee you can do search engine optimization. I guarantee you can help somebody with their channel. You can do it for very little money, very cheaply at first, and then start helping them grow their brands if you've got the time to do this. Lynette Chettle says, and if you pay council rent, more than 2/3 of that goes in rent and rates. Yes, totally agree. Again, the cost of living is increasing. House prices, social housing, all of the rents are going up, which is why you must not rely on the government. Do not rely on the government. The theme for this whole episode, do not rely on the government. They're not coming to save you. They are not coming to rescue you. You are on your own. The One-Winged Jedi. What a great name. Oh my God, can we just pay homage to the One-Winged Jedi? What an absolutely awesome handle. One-Winged Jedi, if you don't want that name anymore, please let me know. I'll take that name from you. That's flipping great, that is. It's not the coffee that's the problem. It's your electric bill that will get you. What a Jedi. Oh my God, he's absolutely right. Or she is absolutely right. I don't know, he or she. The One-Winged Jedi. It's not the coffee that's the problem. It's your electric bill that will get you. 100% agree. This is why you must not rely on the government state pension, because your electricity bill is going up with the cost of living, inflation, whatever term you want to call it. It's going to keep going up. It's not going to ever come down. Get used to that and start planning for it now. If you're in your 40s and you think your electricity bill is high today, what do you think it's going to be like when you're 70? It's not going to be any cheaper. I promise you. It's only going to go one way, and that's up. Why? Because electricity companies have shareholders and they want to see a rise in year-on-year performance. That means money going up, not down. Oh my God. Let's have a look at this. Man Called Megs says, this is a disingenuous call-out. Any pensioner who is entirely reliant on the state pension will be eligible for many other benefits, not least housing benefit, tax credits, etc. So yes, the base may be $230 a week, but in reality, most pensioners are receiving more. Look at the winter fuel allowance. Man Called Megs, I totally agree with you on this, actually. There are additional benefits. I was talking about a lady before. I said, look, you need to go to the Citizens Advice Bureau for exactly this reason. There will be. But remember, the government is making this thing harder. Only recently in 2025, the Labour government said, we're not going to pay winter fuel payments to all this range of people on pensions anymore. And there was absolute uproar in the streets from just normal people, everyday people. And they ended up doing a U-turn. So my point is that the government is always skint, and they're going to try to find ways to save some money because they're not able to raise enough taxes for their spending, because they like spending the taxpayers' money on crap that we don't need. Okay? So, yes, I agree with you, Man Called Megs, that there's other pension eligibilities there, that you can get additional pension credits, you can get winter fuel allowance and housing benefit. Absolutely right. But there's going to come a stage where the government says no more. And that is going to be a bleak day for many of us. So please don't rely on the government. Take some accountability now, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s. There's stuff you can do. If you're commenting on TikTok, I promise you there is stuff you can do right now to generate extra income, irrespective of your age. £5.60 for a coffee. I can't afford that. I'm a working class man. I have to boil a kettle, says Big Willie Style 80. Love that, Big Willie Style 80. Big Willie Style, if you can't afford that, then that's absolutely fine. You don't have to do it. But it's going to get worse. So start planning for what's coming next and how you are going to make your situation better. If you're on TikTok making a comment, Big Willie Style 80, that means you have the skills necessary to make money today. Go and look at our back catalogue. Explain the quality in pre-prepared coffee mix you're being overcharged for, is there? Says Stephen Kaminsky 3. A lot of hang-ups on Costa Coffee, guys, I must say. We're talking about pensions and everyone keeps going on about my Costa Coffee. What is the quality in pre-prepared coffee mix? 0, actually. Well, probably less than 0. It's crap. I drink the hot chocolate, so it's even worse. So what's the value? I think the social aspect of it, getting into meetings. It would be weird if I said to some of the 25-year-old females that I work with, do you want to come to my bedroom for a business meeting? I think I might end up on a certain list somewhere if I start doing that. So it's always nice and safe to be able to say, would you like to have a meeting and Costa Coffee? And they go, oh, yes, that sounds very good. So I don't know, you be the judge. What you think would be more professionally acceptable to do. Meeting in the bedroom in the living room or meeting in Costa? I think I know which one I'd rather. My wife would kill me if I started bringing some of our clients home with me for coffee. So yeah, probably not the best one for me. Due to having a dodgy, corrupt accountant, I didn't pay enough NI, and my pension forecast is only 162 per week. Honestly, I'm in a mess. I'm not going to read the handle on that one because that's quite a personal comment. Oh dear, you are in a mess though. What I would suggest is going to the Citizens Advice Bureau. If you have time, you can actually backdate some of your national insurance contributions. It's not expensive for the whole year. You can do that. And I would also suggest, if you still have time to do that, I would say, look, what income can you start to earn now to make up for some of those lost national insurance contributions that you have lost? So, because it says your pension is forecast, so that means you're not quite claiming the pension yet. So I would get in touch. You can do that on the Government UK website, gov.uk, and start looking at what contributions you can add to make up those missing NI contributions. And I am really sorry to hear about that situation, which is very real, by the way, and it affects more than just one person. It's happened to lots of different people over the years. So please go and get some help from the CAB. And do contact the gov.uk website about making additional national insurance contributions. Costa is full of pensioners. They do have state and private pensions, ONBS. I don't know what ONBS means. I don't speak that lingo. But that's from Paterge with a little alien. I love the little alien cover there, Paterge. Yeah, Costa is full of pensioners. You're right. And I think that's because it's the social aspect. It's meeting up and having friends. And again, one of the biggest citations for people becoming ill is loneliness, particularly mental health in older people. So I think that's a good thing. But they do have state and private pensions. Yes, I agree. Lots of people have started paying into private pensions now for many decades, and they're going to bear the fruit of that. However, there are some people who had very small private pensions. My nan was one of them. And because she was a couple of pound over the threshold, she wasn't entitled to pension credits, which meant she had to pay full rent, full council tax, even though she was on a very, very small amount every week. So there are swings and roundabouts to this. You do also have to pay tax as an income on your pension, and your state pension is considered in that as well. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right to say that, but I also think it's fair to say it's not enough to survive on if you don't have a big enough pension. So, yeah, I think that's a good point though, Paterge, and I accept that people do have private pensions as well as state pensions. But please remember, you are taxed on your private pension as an income when you draw it out, unless it's, of course, the first 25% as an annuity, which you're allowed to get tax-free presently, although the rules may change. And then Ross McGilvery says, but you've had decades to put even just a small amount aside. I say this as someone that doesn't have much saved other than through pension schemes, but even so. I think that's a very honest comment, Ross, and I thank you for it. And you're right. It is relatively easy to put a couple of pound a week away from the age of 18, and you sort of don't miss it if you're just putting 20 quid a week away or something like that. I agree, but lots of people didn't do that. Lots of people haven't worked. Lots of people are on very low income jobs. So Some of those people don't have those opportunities. What's the solution? I think generating passive income, having income coming in even when you're not working is a great idea. So businesses, properties, and so on and so forth. If that is the sort of thing that interests you, please come and have a word with me. Comment below, get in touch with me, and we will help you to understand how to buy businesses, how to start businesses, how to buy properties and get into the property investors racket, as we would say. Sometimes it is a racket. There's some very unscrupulous people out there, so beware. So yeah, I think that comment's really valid, Ross, and I thank you for it. So I think moving forward, yeah, it is good to put some savings away, but I don't think relying on the state pension or even a small private pension reliant on that is even enough, because of course it's all gambled in stocks and shares. So please beware of that. Please be advised, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not qualified to offer financial advice. This one says, from Andrew_1965, to be honest, how many pensioners go to Costa? More likely Morrison's Cafe for a cuppa and a toasted tea cake. Well, Andrew_1965, we do have a Morrison's by us, and I have to say, the Grey Brigade, we call them, they are constantly in Morrison's Cafe. I agree with you. However, that is not the point of the video at all, but it's good to see that you are observing that people are actually still going out and having a good time, even when they are pensioners. So thank you very much for that observation. Wow, that's a review of just a handful of the, at the moment, 941 comments from one of our videos, or my videos, just talking about pensions. I hope that's been informative and insightful for you. I hope they've been flashing up on the screen. I'd love to get your feedback on what you think about some of the comments. And I look forward, as always, to seeing you on the next episode.